Hello and welcome to Paxton Road TV. I am Sam, Spurs for Life, and this is episode number 57 of Talking Points. And this week's Talking Points, who would you bring back to Spurs next season? There's a lot of talk about players possibly coming back, and we've seen the likes of Ronaldo going to Manchester United. We even had Gareth Bale come last season, and let's talk about Eriksen, etc., etc. So we thought we might take a bit of a look and see if we can have a look at a few players that have left recently. We're not going to go back in time. We're not going to go back to Glenn Hoddle and say, bring Glenn Hoddle back, or Steve Archibald, like I've had in the comments, or Garth Crook, and all those players from the 80s. We're not doing that. We are looking currently players that have moved on from Spurs in the recent times who we might possibly think about coming back. There's a number of players who've left. Anyway, rambling done. Hit that like button. Make sure you do. Everybody that's watching the stream, hit the like button. We know England's playing, but we are trying to just, get through this international week before the start again of the Premier League on Friday, I think it is. And now in the house, we've got Mike-Hotspur Hustler, and joining us from wherever he's from Euro Talk, he's from Irish Hotspur, he's all over the place, is this guy. We've got Jack Flatcap, Euro Talk. How you doing, gentlemen? You all right?
Traveling multiple time zones. Yeah, all over the place these days. You can't find me anyplace else. And unpredictable. Doing well, I would say. Yeah, finished a video that I thought would take a lot shorter than it did, but it was nice that it, took a while to make. And I also love coming on here as always, because like I even was in the chat last time, Shane sometimes does not hold back with the hard questions. So I'm well prepared for this. Looking forward to being put under the heat.
This one's not going to be too questionable. It's kind of like just a few opinions because, we could do...
Get me on next time then.
We could do this all day, really, and just drag out a players from anywhere. But I tried to think about it a bit logically. There's been a few players, obviously, with Conte coming in November. We had Nuno before that. And, here we go again. We've got to just hold the front pages. We're holding them. He's going to come out of the closet in a minute. Oh, shouldn't say the closet. Out of the dark in a minute, should I say? He's not in the closet, people. I'm sorry about that. No, he's not in the closet at all. This is what happens when you go and kind of go
Delhi fashion as well. True Delhi fashion. Fashionably late.
You know what you need? You need a Will Smith, mate. You need a Will Smith.
I do. I know. Well, everybody's talking about that. We can't go into that. But like I said, it takes a brave man to do that, and it takes an even bigger man not to retaliate. Anyway, let's move on from that. That is being talked about by the whole world at the moment. Right, Sid, welcome to the stream where we are talking about, in theory, obviously there's lots of talk about, players coming back. Should players come back? We had Gareth Bale come back, and I was just saying about players in the past, players this season, probably, Ronaldo being the main one. But this is what we're going to look at. Who would you bring back to Spurs next season? If you had a choice, there's a number of players as I've talked about. Let me share this with you. This will help us go through today's show, and we'll come back and look at this in a little while. Right, here we go. So I put on seven players. Yeah, 7 players here. Now, again, there could be loads more, and we could look at me, but I try to kind of balance up with players who we kind of know, players who might be able to fill some positions that we might need to be filled in the summertime, players that could actually play in the system, etc., etc. So we might look at a few others. There's likes of Toby Alderweireld. I haven't brought him back in, and Musa Sissoko. I haven't brought him back in because age and all the rest of it. So I've tried to keep it within a kind of profile. But these are the players we're going to talk about: Gareth Bale, Christian Eriksen, Carl Walker-Peters, Kieran Trippier, Juan Foyth, Serge Aurier, Carlos Vinicius. Now, you guys might say you don't want to bring any of them back, but we'll look at them all individually, and we can have a look at their pros and cons, their merits, what you think, possibly how they'd fit into the system, whether you'd think they'd actually enhance Spurs, whether they'd make the first team, blah, 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 blah. Please put your comments in the comment section as well, and we'll all always try and look at some of the comments. Right, let's try and get on with the show. Enough talking done. One of the comments here from Daryl Denton, quite simply, none. So, yeah, that starts us off very nicely. Mike, let's start with you. Let's start with Gareth Bale firstly. Let's start at the top. Gareth Bale, 32 years of age, currently at Real Madrid. Position, obviously, is a forward, doing fantastically well for Wales. But currently, his domestic season, he's made 5 appearances, including any appearances in Europe. I don't think he's made any appearances in the Champions League. 267 minutes played. He has 1 goal, no assists. He's Obviously, been lambasted in the press in Spain, not getting picked by Ancelotti to play. Would you bring him back?
If his wage favoured the move, 100%. I would. I'd bring him back either as a second striker to Kane, or we don't need him out on the flank. We've got Kulu there, and you could argue we've still got Lucas Moura who could play out on there. For me, I'd be tempted to, as I say, either a second striker, which would give Kane the rest as and when needed, or I'd even play him out on the left if Son needed a rest, or the only problem is it wouldn't fit Conte's system, but I'd play him in behind that back three. Sorry, not back three, that front three, but that won't fit into Conte's system. But 100%, yeah, I'd take him back. I'd take him back tomorrow. If it, as I say, as long as his wages were reasonable and realistic to the volume of games that we would probably get out of him. I mean, if you're talking on the basis of, say, I'm guessing here on the top of my head, say 50 games, if you include Europe over the course of the season, if we got 25 of those games out of him, I'd expect his wage to sort of reflect that output. But if you played him as a second striker when Kane's not around, I think he'd find the back of the net. I mean, he'd be able to take a set piece, which we can't seem to do. And he scores in the big games, which again, you could argue that we struggle to do sometimes. So why wouldn't you take him back?
Mm. Well, I guess this is the questions we're going to ask, because I look at it. He's 32 now. He's obviously wanting to play for Wales. Are they still able to get into the World Cups? I'm assuming they can.
Yeah, they are.
Make the World Cup. So
final,
that's going to be November, December time this year. So there's clearly a reason for him to want to play. Not to say that he's not enjoying his time in Spain, but he's clearly stated he doesn't really care if he plays, or to a degree, he's kind of stated he's not really bothered. If they pick him, he's available to play. But at 32 years of age, not having played for the last couple of seasons, I know he came to us, blah blah blah, but his football's only really based around him performing for Wales. Do you think we'll get enough out of him?
100%, mate. We saw it already, didn't we? How many games he scored? 16 goals in how many games?
Yeah, he didn't play many minutes when you really look at it.
His goals ratio, the goal ratio to games he's played, and yeah, you could argue a few of them are in cup games and stuff, but he can only if he's only sort of being chosen to play in certain games, he can only score what's in front of him, can't he? Like if it's against Mora or whoever,
he didn't even play 1,000 minutes. He didn't even play 1,000 minutes, and he scored 11 goals and 2 assists as well. Also, 11 of them are all non-penalties. When you also have to look at that as well. All non-penalty goals. Which is always even more impressive then.
And he scored against Leicester. Some of his goals were very good as well, to be fair to him.
So do we go on last season then? Do we go on that? Or are we talking about Gareth? Because like I said, 32 years of age, he's not getting better. He's not likely to be. I'm not sure. I don't know yet. The reason I'm saying I'm not sure is because one, he's got to fit into the system that Conte's currently got, where we all can see that you need a high level of athleticism to play in there successfully, in my opinion. You can see by the players that are playing in the positions that he would occupy, Son, Kulusevski, potentially Kane. They seem to have got that high level of athleticism currently. I'll ask you then, Jack, would he fit into the system that Conte would want to play and be able to perform at the levels that Conte would? Because remember, I look at Ronaldo at Man United. He doesn't necessarily do what's required for the team, but you cannot deny that he's a world-class player. So he's going to do what he does. Gareth Bale, I'd put in the same sort of bracket, not quite Ronaldo bracket, obviously, but the same sort of effect. Would we get enough
ability-wise, you would say, ability-wise, he's always had, even if he doesn't have world-class numbers at the end of a season, the ability is there. That's world-class. I think with him, for the longest time, you would say Gareth Bale is still one of the best strikers of football, just in general, in the world. That's, to be honest, though, that's where my answer then comes in, Shane, is could he really play on the wing in our sort of system? It seems like players like Kulusevski and even to a degree, Sonny, they have to work pretty hard in that system. And it feels like then the best sort of option for him maybe would be play as like a backup to Harry Kane, if not like Mike was saying, a second striker, because with what we're getting from Harry Kane in terms of distribution, creativity, being able to play the ball in behind and whatnot, there are not really any strikers in the world that you could really replace that with. It's just that's how good Harry Kane is. But you could say maybe Gareth Bale could probably be the next best version of that, because the guy can certainly be able to ping a pass. We always saw him be able to switch play last season really well. He could probably play passing behind to someone like a Sonny, someone like a Lucas, or someone like a Kulusevski. And then he can also take free kicks for us when we're in maybe desperate situations as well. My answer then, Shane, is like maybe as sort of a backup striker, kind of second striker, but to like be as a, I don't know, part of the front three in the starting lineup, I just don't think he'd be able to do it. I think that's just too much would be asked of him. And I think it'd be too much of a risk to really depend on him that much. And also, I feel like it's not really right considering how good Kulusevski's been. It'd be kind of weird to then just all of a sudden put Gareth Bale back in ahead of him again. So maybe if he were to come in as a number 9, he wore the number 9 kit last season, so maybe he'll be happy to take again. But yeah, if he were to play as some sort of backup to Harry Kane, then I think we could talk about it. If he's playing as a winger, I don't think it would suit Conte's system, to answer the question.
So Sid, and like I said, this is what I'm saying. This is the complexities of having a Gareth Bale, because again, to try and fit him in, you've got to take into account wages. Where's his best position in a Conte system currently with this 3-4-2-1 that we're playing? Sid, I'll ask you, would the wages be a factor? He's not going to come for 100 grand a week, is he? He's currently on about 500k a week, something like that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that.
650, isn't he?
Oh, well, there you go. I
think he's on 15 million a year. I think that's what it was, because that's what it was, what we basically had to pay, last season. We paid like 15 million.
Okay. Is combining whatever, if he comes on a free, forget the transfer, but he's going to command some sort of wages. And I would imagine a minimum type contract, 1 year, whether that's 1 year, 2 years. Would that outlay be worth the what we'd get back off him in the long term for a season?
See, for me, as much as I love Bale and what he's done for Spurs, what he's done for Wales, to bring him back a third time, I think is a bit of a gamble, because number one, like what you said, his age, he's getting now, and he's not like 32, yeah, but he's not like Ronaldo, is he? Where Ronaldo's like a machine. Bale's is a different player. He's prone to an injury as well, and when he's injured, he's out for quite a while. Wages is going to be a massive problem, because, like you're saying, Sam, if he's on 400, 500, 600, 700 grand at the moment at Madrid, even if we get him out free, he ain't going to come to any other club for 100 grand, 150. When you know what I mean, it's a massive gamble to pay somebody that much of a money, especially with the World Cup coming. And I think he probably wants to go somewhere where he's just a big player, but he's going to keep his fitness up and running, because he, more than anything in the world, he wants to play in that World Cup. And
maybe he wouldn't push himself too hard before the World Cup is maybe the point.
This is the problem, isn't it? And like what you said, Jack, if we need him a couple of games before the World Cup, right, and Kane gets injured or whatever, and we need him to go and play week in, week out, it ain't going to happen. We're not going to get a consistent week in, week out performances from Gareth Bale, like starting 80, 90 minutes every week. Because we saw the other day when he played for Wales, he was knackered, absolutely knackered. And Premiership is a different level to the game that he played the other day.
Also, the motivation to prove something, right? Because we've seen it with Kulusevski, right? He has hunger because he needs to prove something. He's not coming in. He came in with the reputation as a Juventus reject. That's what he came in as. And he has to prove something, prove the fans wrong. You would say with Gareth Bale coming back, what's the motivation there, really for him to, it's not like he's going to prove fans wrong or anything.
You're going to be knackered if you've only played five club games. You're not going to be able to go in and play 90 minutes at peak fitness, because you won't have that, will you? So you're going to be, after 60, 70 minutes, you are going to be blown to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need the money, though. That's the fit. This is the other thing as well. He doesn't need that 600 grand. So I don't think he's going to. If he goes to another club, which he probably will do it, in
Mike,
the summer,
I don't. Those
think he's
country club golf payments.
They're
I'm
not free, are
telling
they?
you, like I worked at one. I worked at one, Mike, like in Texas. It was like a $60,000 buy-in, you know, and all those things. Like, believe me, I think, you know, part of the wages are going to need to cover the country club expenses. So I wouldn't
Listen,
be so sure.
he's not going to come
I
in.
think that
He's not gonna,
600K, he needs every
Especially in
penny of
London.
it. He needs every penny of it.
he's not going to command 600K from his next club unless he goes to
No,
an all-backed country or China or somewhere where they're going to commercially be able to pay that money.
Newcastle.
Or Newcastle. Even half that wages is still 300K. Let's say he's on 600K. I don't know many clubs in the Premier League that's going to pay Gareth Bale at 32, going to be 33 the next season.
Not going to pay
for
Most
what,
of his-
10, 15, 20 games a season, potentially 5, 10, 15 goals. I'm just saying, I don't think I would pay it. So, you know, it's not like he's not going to be worth the money because commercially you might be able to make that sort of thing back. But still, you're looking at 300K. I'm saying 300K. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah. See, the other thing as well that people can look at it is he could turn around to somebody and say, right, all right, don't pay me a yearly salary or whatever. Pay me on a pay-as-you-play basis, but I want 200 grand or something like that. And again, I don't know if many other clubs would take that gamble because you're going to think, I've got to pay him 200 grand this week. Shall I play him? Nah, I won't play him this week. So I don't know. I mean, for me, as much as I like him, unless we're going to get him for almost nothing, and like you said, 100 grand or even less than 100 grand, then yes. But
there's lots of pros and cons factors. Like I said, if you was going to get him for on a cheap, if Gareth Bale was going to play on a pay as you play or whatever it was, and you could guarantee that, you know, man, you could get him up for the games, blah blah blah, and he fits into the system, maybe. But if I look at how Gareth Bale plays now, what we had from him last time, how Conte plays with the athleticism now, I'm not sure we'd be able to get that out of him consistently. Whether or not he could do that, I don't know. And like you were saying, Jack, whether he plays in that number 9 for Kane, he'd be a completely different player. I don't necessarily think he would be the one, although he has done it in the past.
Yeah,
whether he's going to be able, it's going to be. Quick yes or no then, and I'll go around from you, Jack. Yes, would you have him back or no?
No.
Sid?
You can make a good case, but no.
No, I agree. No.
Mike?
100% yes. He's a
I'm
not having this. I'm not having this. But yeah, I'll take him back.
I'm going to go no on it. But that's not to say that we're right. You know what I mean? It's not the majority rules here.
He's one of the more convincing ones. He's one of the more convincing ones, I would say.
So put your comments in there and let us know what your thoughts are. Let's have a look at the next player down. Let's look at
list.
Christian Eriksen. So age 30. We all know about Christian Eriksen from the Euros, etc., has now come back into professional game. Had to leave Inter, but now is at Brentford.
2 and 2 goals.
See, there you go. Currently, is that for what's his name? Denmark, though, isn't it?
Yeah, scored 2 for Denmark. He scored again today.
So currently played and made 3 appearances for Brentford, 218 minutes, no goals, but 1 assist. Christian Eriksen is a very, very interesting one. Again, let's start with you, Sid. Talk to me about Christian Eriksen.
I'm taking him.
Would you bring him back?
I'll bring him back because I tell you what. Jack, look at Jack's eyes. Jack's just like, whoa. Let me explain why, Jack. Right?
I want to hear this one.
Everyone wrote him off. Right? Everyone wrote him off, and especially the Italian league and whatever, because their rules are their rules. Now, Brentford have obviously done all their due diligence and they've checked it all out. All the doctors and everything have got him 100% because he's one of them players that you cannot gamble or take a risk, especially with what condition he's got. They've proved him to be 100%, and the couple of games he's played for Brentford, albeit he's come on as a sub, some of the crosses he's put in, some of the play he's done. Scored 2 already for Denmark in 2 games, right? I think he is what we're lacking, right? Now, I don't know who we're going to go and get that can fill that position. We all know he's done it before for Spurs. He's that kind of creative player. that creates. He can put people. He can put Kane through. He can put anyone else through on the wings. He can pass the ball to them. Free kick maestro, right? And as Spurs fans, we've all seen him do it. And Danny Bling's been playing with a pacemaker for how many years, and he's still playing, and he's still in the international. And I think if the push comes to the shove and the players Conte wants are not available or we can't get, then I don't see why Eriksen wouldn't be an answer to some of our questions, because he's got everything. He's got Prem experience, and I'd take him back, because I know everyone says, oh no conditions, blah blah blah. But if the push comes to the shove and we haven't got anyone in the market that we can go and get to replace Eriksen type of player, I'd take him.
Firstly, are you on a retainer for some agency fees? Because you've done a very good selling job there for Christian Eriksen. I like it. I do like it. Now, where was you? I'm sure Jack's going to do that, because I'm going to come to you next in a bit, Jack. But I just want to ask you, firstly, where are you going to play him? How do you fit him into the system? And what do you expect to get out of it? I know, rephrase it. I know what you're going to expect to get out of him, but what would you expect to get out of him in this system currently? Where would he play, firstly?
Well, the thing is, the system, I'm sure if Conte got him, he'd put him in that system where he'd probably play him. It's a very good question. I'm asking that is because Conte's obviously had him at Inter. He's played him, so he can fit him in. But currently, with the players that we've got, he's had to maybe adapt the style slightly. So we've got this, formation with, as you said, the 2 and the 1, and with Kane dropping into the hole. So it's almost like a false 9 at times. So again, with 2 midfielders and then 3 players up front, where does he play? That's a good question. That's an answer for the person who gets paid £12 million a year to deal with. I don't get paid £12 million to make that decision. Conte gets paid 12 million quid to make that decision, and it's up to him to find the position for him to play in if he gets him.
You sound like Steve Hitchin. I'll get the players. Here you go. I don't care what he does. Just have him.
Dump them on him. Dump them on him.
No,
Jack,
come back to this. Your turn now. Talk to me about Christian Eriksen, because Sid's sold him, but doesn't know what to do with him. So now you tell me what your thoughts are.
He just did, like you said, he did the job of the agent. That's all he needed to do. Right?
I've got him into the club.
Did a good job there, Sid. To be honest, I apologize that this is all over the place, because I haven't disagreed with something more wholeheartedly in a while. I'll be honest. I think you can make an easier case for Gareth Bale, coming back than you would for Christian. First thing I would say is, like, the position that you would be signing Christian for, there's such like a plethora, it's so saturated. I feel like, like creative box to box midfielders. And what we have to remember as well with Christian Eriksen, it's not like it went smoothly over with Conte. It took him a while to get back into that team. And this was also during a time when he was sort of in, let's say, the prime of his career. And it still took him a long time to get into that Conte team. And at one stage as well, I remember somebody from The Guardian by the name, I think, Nikki Bandini, she was saying, like, we're kind of worried whether Christian can actually make it in this Conte side. And then all of a sudden he kind of got back into the swing of things. But it's not like Conte bent over for Christian. It was the other way around, where Christian decided, to really change himself for Conte, become a different player for Conte. Would Christian do that again? / does Conte really want to do that all over again? It's not like it was somebody that fit in seamlessly. He had to really work at Christian to do it. I feel like he'll have to do that all over again. I don't know why we would need to do that to Conte. The other kind of issue is that Daniel Levy's not the biggest fan of Christian either. He told Jose to talk to him for him at one stage, what we saw in the documentary. So, that could also be a bit of a complication. My other problem is yes, he's come back to the Premier League and maybe can show something, but with what we're trying to achieve, I think with trying to get every signing for Conte that Conte wants to use, Christian Eriksen, I can promise you, is not somebody on Conte's list. So regardless if it's a free, it's just somebody that I don't think Conte would be really that excited over. Also, like I think we've all said 1,000 times, he doesn't really want attacking midfielders. If anything, he wants more box-to-box sort of midfielders that can do a bit of creative side, but also be able to track back and also be defensively solid. And Christian Eriksen struggled to do that at like 29 years old, 28 years old. I really wonder whether he could do that now.
Thing for Christian Eriksen. A lot of people say this, and I've been caught out in the past about his work ethic. He usually, and when he was at Spurs, he was normally top of the stats in terms of distance covered.
Yeah.
Whether or not that translates into sprints, that's a different matter. But in terms of distance covered, so people can kind of almost put that misconception that he doesn't work hard. He works really hard. However, in a system like what we've got with the players that we've got, right? Okay, so if he's going to play as a midfield 2, he's going to need certain qualities. That means I think he's going to need box-to-box qualities. Does he have box-to-box qualities to have?
Or if he even wants to, right? Like, think about this. He doesn't maybe want to even like play that sort of role. I think that's the other thing to take into consideration. As much as I think Sid sold him well, like you kind of like if you just dump Christian Eriksen on Conte again, I don't think that's a signing Conte's very happy with. I'll be honest. I would be surprised if he would be, because he already had to like, manipulate him and kind of, make him more malleable and everything before. Like, does he want to go through that again? He probably would just rather have somebody that he just knows can do the job that he's asking.
I think Mike,
go on. Go on, finish.
I was going to say, the Bale and Eriksen ones, it's never going to happen. It's just hypothetical if we could, but
the Bale one, I think you could make a more convincing case for, though. The Bale one is more convincing. I think the Eriksen one just doesn't make sense, like in every way, for the player and for the club.
Yeah, Mike. Well, this is what I'm saying, Mike. Let's see your thoughts, because, like I said, Christian Eriksen being like for me, Christian Eriksen's 30, a player in a system. If you're going to build it around him, I would still say he's got the qualities to do that. I just don't know whether or not the way we'd have to keep changing and adapting to get him to play, unless, as Jack was saying, he adopts into another position. Now, at 30 years of age, is he going to be a box-to-box midfielder like Bentancur is for us currently? I'm not sure. Is he going to be a stopper like how Højbjerg is for us? I'm not sure. Is he going to be able to give us that dynamism that Son Kulusevski gives us in those positions in that kind of number 10? I don't think so. And he's not a number 9. So, again, you tell me, Mike, would you bring him in to play or would you bring him into the club because of his experience? Would you bring him in because he has that ability? And would you be able to adapt your team to suit Christian?
Right. I disagree with what Jack's saying on this one.
Ooh, we like this. We love a disagreement on this show.
With someone of Eriksen's ability, you don't need to find a position for him. Like, it's not like Conte's playing a formation or a system that Eriksen's. I've never played for Conte. I don't know what is expected of me. I don't understand tactics. I don't understand the philosophy that he's trying to get across to players. In my eyes, Eriksen would slot into that Spurs in that centre midfield. He would slot in fine. He doesn't need to be a box-to-box player. You could have Bentancur being the box-to-box player. Eriksen, put the ball at his feet, and he will find you. He'll ping a pass to you. He'll find you. He doesn't need. It's like when Paul Scholes. He used to be a box-to-box midfielder. As he got older, and I use the other person as well. I use Pirlo. You never saw Pirlo in his later days being a box-to-box player. The ball just put the ball to his feet, and he will find you. 9 times out of 10, he will find you. And we don't have someone with that ability in our team who could literally receive the ball and be able to put it on a sixpence for someone to either start off on an attack or find someone through a threaded.
I feel like there are a lot of players in general though that can do that. So that's, I guess, my other thing. It's like, whereas like
are they of Eriksen's ability?
I think so. Yeah, easily. I would say so.
That are playing in the Premier League and will be able to fit straight.
I think there are plenty in the Premier League that you could look at. Yeah, easily.
Look
at the top 4. It's not like we're going to get players from the top 4, but even look at the top 4 right now. There are plenty of players that you could say could do exactly what Christian Eriksen.
But let's go back to Eriksen. Go back to Mike's point. Now, if you've got somebody like Eriksen in the team, you're likely to be able to control possession more. The problem with Eriksen, if you don't control possession, he's going to need to do more defensive work than he's going to do offensive work. If you're controlling the possession more with him in there, then he's likely to do less of that work. Would that mean we'd control the game more?
100%. 100%. Because his work rate's not in question. I mean, even with the health issues that he's had, I think when he came in for Brentford, it's like he's just hit the ground running, and he's even been playing for Denmark. So his fitness to me isn't an issue, and you wouldn't play him in every single game. You'd play him in the games that you think, right, we need to be on the front foot. We need someone that's going to be able to unlock defenses, someone that's a set piece specialist. He ticks every single box. I know there's going to be people that think, he's still not cut out for it, but just because of what's happened to him in terms of his health, that doesn't mean that his ability as a footballer has diminished in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, you've seen it. As I say, you saw he scored a great goal for Denmark in the international friendly, the other day.
Saturday, yeah.
He would be able to dictate play for us. He'd be, as I say, if you looked at the current Spurs team now, I'd probably say goodbye Højbjerg, sit on the bench, and I'd have Eriksen and Benteke. Benteke can be that person that goes box to box. He can come in. He could be the legs, if you want to call it, for Eriksen. If we're attacking and Eriksen's still sort of playing that deep line midfield, we don't need two centre midfielders in the middle that are going to be box to box. You need someone that A, can be that box to box midfielder, which is Benteke, and then B, have that sort of, I use the word for want of a better one, a defensive or more defensive minded midfielder, or a deeper lying playmaker, which is what Eriksen is, to keep control of the ball, keep possession, unlock defenses, set the team up on the attack.
I feel like we're confusing.
He'd give us a different dimension in my eyes to what we currently have at the moment.
I feel like we're confusing what Modric did for us and what Eriksen did for us. Modric is someone, like you're saying, like if Modric would be kind of the player that, to be honest, that we would take back, because what you're describing, what you wanted Christian to be doing, is what Modric would be doing. I'm not sure that's what Eriksen would be doing, because for Eriksen to be part of a midfield too, where he would drop deep, pick up the ball, face the defense, and then be able to ping passes left and right, I guarantee you he could do that. My big question is, does Eriksen want to be doing that? And I really doubt he really does. At his age, I honestly feel like what he wants to be having is a player where he can be able to pick up the ball in sort of those midfield pockets of the number 10 space and be able to ping passes over the top, be able to maybe hit one from 18 yards, 20 yards. I don't think he wants to be in a midfield too, with Bentancur coming up against Norwich every week. Like, I honestly think that's not really what he's looking forward to be doing.
I think even when he played for Spurs, when he was playing on the Poch, he kind of operated off that left side. He kind of operated.
That would explain how much distance he covered too, right? Because Deli was playing through the middle and Eriksen was being forced to play out wide, which I think explains that work rate.
And that was to fit players into a system. Sorry, Mike. That was to kind of fit players into a system, which is what we had to do with Eriksen because he's a top quality player. I think he'd operate in a 3 if we had a 3 somehow in midfield, and he could either operate in either of the number 4 position behind the 2 midfielders or in the 10 position. And for those reasons, I don't know if he necessarily wants to work as a 2 to have to do as much work as you would need to do in a Conte team. However, as Mike was saying, I think his qualities are definitely up there with what we would need in the team. Mike, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say he done it for Inter Milan. Like he wasn't this player that was playing in an advanced position. Every player that has your Modric's, your Paul Scholes, your Eriksens, at some point in time, they all drop back because they haven't got the legs to be that midfielder that they were or used to be able to, where they could cover as much ground, etc.
But it took him like a year to do that, is what I mean. It took him a year. It took him a whole season in order to do that.
Yeah, but he had new players to play with as well, didn't he?
He was playing in a completely different formation and a different system under Poch. Different manager, different tactics, different philosophy. It's going to take someone of Eriksen's. You're taking away what's almost natural to him and saying, right, I'm remolding you into this other type of midfielder where it's your natural instinct to attack. It's almost like, well, you can still do that, but I want you to do it from deeper in midfield. Which
my question is just, does he want to do that all over again? Because it seemed like there was a lot of pushback between him and Conte the first time that Conte wanted him to do that. And so I feel like we're underemphasizing that. Maybe we're kind of forgetting that even happened, I guess.
But Conte actually did say this quite a bit with Eriksen, is the fact that the reason he didn't play Eriksen in the first half of the season is because he wanted Eriksen to fully understand what was required of him in his makeup of a team. And
which is a nice way, I think, of saying what I'm saying.
But,
You know,
but why bother playing him then in the second half of the season? He became integral to Inter Milan in that second half of the season, and he was in very good form. If Conte didn't believe in his ability, you'd be like, "Nah, why am I wasting my time on the training field if I don't think you're ever going to be able to do
the ability.
what I want to do?"
I'm not questioning the ability. I'm just questioning if Conte wants to go through all of that again with Eriksen.
But why would he have to go through it all again if Eriksen's already sort of he's already gone through that whole stage of the training ground. He knows what Conte wants now, inside out. He's done it for whatever many months it was. I think it'd be an easy transition for him to come into the Spurs because he knows what Conte wants and he knows what will be required. And I think it'd be another one, the likes of Benteke and Kulu. He'd slot in, and we'd get more out of him than we would do Højbjerg in terms of he's got everything that.
Now you're trying to trigger me, Mike.
I'm gonna add my little bit, and then we're gonna go around and ask the yes or no's. I think I would potentially take him as a squad player. I don't think he's not going to be a starting 11, and the reason I'm saying that is not so much because of his ability. I think we all know about his ability. I don't know in the system that we're currently playing with a 3-4-2-1 whether he fits in any of the positions really. As a 2 in midfield, I don't see Eriksen being that person.
I completely disagree.
Let me say my piece.
He's not doing anything.
Let me say my piece. Because of his age, he's 30 years of age. He's not getting better. He was never the sort of player. I've never seen him do a Modric. He's not pick the ball up, run with it through me. I don't remember Eriksen doing that. What I have seen Eriksen do is find players very well. I've seen Eriksen put crosses into the box. I've seen Eriksen find players. His ability and vision is second to none. However, we haven't necessarily got to have all of that in 2 players because one, the way we play, Harry Kane kind of does that. And what you're then wanting is your 2 midfielders to have a lot of energy to win the ball back and do what, again, I'm looking at Benteke as the example for the box-to-box, but also Højbjerg to kind of almost be the foil to balance all that up. He cleans up all the shit. Eriksen's not a clean up poo sort of person. Eriksen's also not a box-to-box Modric type player. So where does he fit for me? I would bring him into certain games where we need to maybe control the game late on and you change your system accordingly, but not to start as a let's have him every week. Not for me.
I agree. And also, what's the joke? Kane replaced Eriksen. You know, that's like kind of the joke that's been coming about as well recently. I think that Eriksen-sized gap or that Eriksen-sized hole is certainly there, but you would say, especially recent games, it's been kind of being filled, you know, by maybe more than one person.
But we're saying we're leaving out a player of Eriksen, like an Eriksen type player, which we do not have.
There are other, just got to open your horizons, Mike. Got to open your horizons. There are other Eriksens out there. You know, you can't, you know, it's like your favorite toy. You know, sometimes you have to give up your favorite toy, Mike. You got to find a new one out there. That,
why did we go and get Benteke, who's a completely different type of player, to an Eriksen?
Because we needed a Bentancur. Because we needed a Bentancur more than we needed an Eriksen. We needed a Bentancur.
Really? Because he's not a Bentancur, isn't it? He's fitting in the system as it is now.
He allows us to play 2 in the midfield. We needed somebody that could give us the opportunity to play 2 in the midfield.
You could argue Skip,
but Skip was injured the whole time, so that's why we brought in Bentancur.
Yeah, so then
but Winks was showing that we can't play 2 in the midfield. So that's the point. That's why we needed Bentancur more than we needed an Eriksen.
What's your argument, Mike, in terms of
look what you started
over Højbjerg or Bentancur?
Say again.
What's your argument having Eriksen over Højbjerg or Bentancur as the 2 in midfield? Why would he perform better?
Because Eriksen's a better footballer than both of them. He's got a better football brain on his shoulders than both of them. I know.
Can he do what they need to do in that system? I'm saying I know he's a better footballer. But I don't know if he works in a 2. I don't know if he works in a 2.
He's proved he can do it for Inter Milan. If he can do it for Inter Milan and under Conte, what's Conte doing now that's different to when he was at Inter Milan? There's nothing that he's doing in terms of his tactics, his philosophy, what he's wanting his back three to do, what he's wanting his wing backs to do, what he's wanting the front wide players to do. they're not doing anything different to what they were doing at Inter Milan. So why would Eriksen not fit Conte's system now? It doesn't make sense to me. Like,
look what Sid started.
Hoyth,
See, Sid
we're
with his
wanting-
brilliant speech in the beginning. His brilliant speech. Sid started all of this. I swear. Sid
I
started
was
all of
already
this.
I was already an advocate for, and no,
Yeah.
you can even in the WhatsApp groups, I would take Eriksen all day long.
Listen.
Over Skip.
Let's do this. Let's do
Højbjerg,
this.
over
Let me just say
Words
this.
Sid's gonna say
We've
with
got
the next
to
player.
move on from this player now.
Yeah, we're gonna
Let
move
me
on.
do
But
this.
let me just say this, right? With Eriksen, yeah,
Make
you
it
remember-
good, Sid.
I will do. If you remember a certain Cindy Lauper, you remember what she said? If you lost, you can look and I will find you time after time. That's Christian Eriksen, because he will find you time after time.
Right, I think I know where this one's going to go. Okay, so let's start off with Mike. Yes or no? Christian
Yeah.
Eriksen. Sid, yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Jack,
No.
yes or no? No. And it's a no from me just because of the
Oh,
fact
come
I don't
on.
think
Thank you, Shane.
he's not a starting 11. He would fit in the squad, but I don't think he's a starting
How
11.
is
because of
it?
that.
Oh, come
Come
on.
No, I don't.
on.
I,
Too,
I,
he's
I,
not.
I just don't think he is. I don't think his age has helped. I know that
He's only
everybody said.
30.
Mike,
Yeah, I know. Right.
Mike, let's
go
take
back
it
to
to
the
a penalty
point.
shootout. I'm a goalkeeper. I'll save their penalties. Don't worry. You just score.
I'll take the point is there's another thing as well. I think he
These
needs to
guys are
prove
killing me this evening.
he does need to prove his fitness as well. I know we've talked about he's done all the tests, that's great, but nobody else came in for him. Brentford did. They've taken a
No,
chance.
there was a
So-
few. There was a few teams. There was a few in for him.
Well, let's say in the Premier League then. No top team, if you want to count Brentford as a top team. We looked at it, we inquired, I guess, but there was a reason why we probably didn't, and maybe he didn't want to come. I don't know all the details.
He probably didn't want to come, I think.
I don't know all the
He's
details.
probably
But anyway.
thinking, fucking hell, I've got to go play a Winks again. I'm done with that.
Yeah. Right, let's move on.
Let's move on. And we're going to have to, those are the two main ones we wanted to discuss in a bit more detail. These other ones, we're going to probably touch on them, not as much detail, I hope, but there's some interesting ones here. Kyle Walker-Peters. So we sold him or kind of did a deal where we got, what's his name? Højbjerg in return from Southampton. Kyle Walker-Peters, age 24, current club Southampton, right back, has made 28 appearances, has played 2,231 minutes, has basically played nearly every single minute of every single game, 2 goals and 4 assists. Right, this one. Jack, do you want to start? Kyle Walker-Peters, would you take him back?
Absolutely. I mean, especially considering the right wing back problem we have now, I guess what is all on our minds is which one could we tolerate, keeping for next season. Kyle Walker-Peters, I would absolutely take in a heartbeat. To be honest, the other big reason I would give is that he's probably the only right wing back that has actual evidence of being able to play on the left wing as well, quite effectively. That's what he's been doing for the majority of this season, being able to play as a left wing back. So I would take him in a heartbeat because either he'd be able to challenge for the first team, offer lots of productivity, which is what we're looking for. We're looking for creativity out wide. We're not like the problem with Emerson is he just offers no creativity. Maybe he gives you a good defensive performance, but doesn't offer anything creatively. And that's what we need. And so Kyle Walker-Peters, he's having a good season so far in creative wise and can play on the left wing. Like we saw that Doherty can't. I mean, Doherty's good on the right wing, sort of, but the left wing was atrocious. So absolutely would take Kyle Walker-Peters. I think very convincing just because he can play anywhere.
There you go. So there's Agent Jack there for Kyle Walker-Peters. Mike,
making it sound so convincing with that one. Hopefully it goes well this time. I took Sid's approach this time.
Let's see how this one pans out. The last one was a bit interesting. Mike, Kyle Walker-Peters, would you have him back?
No.
Oh my goodness. I know how this show's going to go tonight.
This is great.
Good.
I love this channel for this reason.
The reason I wouldn't take him back is we sold him for a reason. Yeah, he's having a decent season, but let's be honest. He's playing
Hold on.
Southampton.
Are you going to put that same logic on Eriksen? We sold him for a reason as well because he didn't want to sign a contract with us.
But we didn't.
So we
sell
sold
Eriksen.
him for a reason.
No, we didn't sell Eriksen. Eriksen wanted to leave.
I was going to say we didn't sell Eriksen because he wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Kyle Walker-Peters was sold because it was felt he wasn't good enough. I personally, yeah, he's in the England squad, but let's be honest, he isn't good. I can't see him. He's sixth choice at best, right wing back or right back, whatever you want to call it, for England. There's plenty of other wing backs that I would take. I'd take Lamptey over Kyle Walker-Peters. For me, I just think he's a good just a good Premier League footballer. Yeah, but is he what Spurs need? Yeah, you could argue the case like Jack was saying.
He's using my logic against me now. He's using my logic.
So this is what I'm saying. The arguments, though, we're saying that we needed a player like Eriksen because Eriksen then fills in the gap that we haven't got. But I'm saying Kyle Walker-Peters for what we haven't. But there's better players than Eriksen. What Jack's argument was, there's better players.
There were better players than Eriksen. We could go after
that's
Barella.
the same argument. So if you're going to use that argument for Kyle Walker-Peters, it has to be used for Eriksen as well. And if it hasn't been used for Eriksen, we have to then drop it for this one.
Right, the pool of players for a right wing back or a right full back, there is tons more fullbacks, whether it's a right back, whether it's a right wing back, that are better than Kyle Walker-Peters. Kyle Walker-Peters is just he's a decent wing back, full back. He isn't great. He's never going to be world class. He's never going to be a top full back. With Eriksen, that pool of players who is better than him is far less than that argument with Kyle Walker-Peters. I just think he's in good form, but he isn't. I just don't think he's anything. He's never going to be a top wing back. He's just never going to be anything better than what he is now. He's in good form. Form's temporary, class is permanent. That's where I'm going to go with this.
Sid, your thoughts on him? So we could then have a bit of more because he's actually an interesting player. I thought we wouldn't move on. I thought it'd be unanimous, but it's not. Anyway, Sid, thoughts on Kyle Walker-Peters?
So, like Mike said, we sold him for a reason, right? Whoever was in charge didn't deem him good enough to be at Spurs. I think at that time it was his aerial ability and stuff like that. He's gone on to Southampton and he's done well at Southampton.
There's levels here.
Yeah, we obviously sold him for a reason, right? And I agree with Mike. And I think I've looked at your list as well, and you've got a lot of right wing backs on there. You forgot
that's what we need.
Yeah, well, we need left wing back as well, I think. But anyway, for me, there's better players out there that we can go and get. There's a lot of abroad players as well that I think there's a lot of. I think Jack's talked about a lot. Darius has talked about a lot.
I'll ask you the same thing, Sid. Are there better players than Eriksen that we can go out and get?
There is.
So the argument you're using for Kyle Walker-Peters has to stand up.
No.
That's all I'm saying. If you're going to use that, you can get better players than Eriksen. So the reason for this is Eriksen's 30. Is he going to get better? Are we got any sell-on value? Is he going to fit into the system? Are all these things having to take? Forget about Eriksen, what he did for Spurs, and now the same thing for Kyle Walker-Peters. When he was at Spurs, he was 22 years of age, 21, just coming through. We had a number of right-backs at that time. He was also used partly as a make-weight for the Højbjerg deal, who we needed as a player more at the time. Fast forward 2 years later, we are in desperate need of wing-backs. That guy has now made his appearance for England. He didn't make it under us. He's made it under Southampton. Talk to me now.
So if England's recognised right backs were available, would you think would he have started? No,
not a chance in hell.
Not a chance. If Trent and Reece James and whoever else was available, he would not have started. Right? Yeah. That's the reason he started. Now, for me, and I'll stick with what Mike said. We sold him for a reason. We didn't think he was good enough to be at Spurs. Eriksen is still good enough to play, right? And yes, there are better players out there than Eriksen, but I know for a fact that Eriksen can still play. Look at Ronaldo at his age, right? He's still doing it. But if you're going to go for a right back, then I think there's better players going forward and defending than Kyle Walker-Peters. There is a lot more better players out there, and I think we can probably do better than him. I'm not saying, and the other thing as well is we sold him. So that thing about coming back again for a second time, he's obviously going to be a bit peeved off as well because we sold him. So would he want to come back to Spurs is the question as well. And for me, I'm with Mike. I'd say no, because for me, there's better players out there and there's more quality.
Serge Aurier,
how much would you sign him for, Shane? Like, what would be your limit? Like, how much would you spend? Because I think that's
the other thing as well.
Figure it out.
Yeah, that's the other thing, Jack. I was going to say we're going to end up paying some stupid money for him.
Yeah, that goes the same for any of the players that we've discussed. I wouldn't place any transfer value on Eriksen, myself personally, or Gareth Bale. And the reasons are for their age and because of, the fact is I don't think we're going to get a lot out of them in terms of, every single week. That's them two players specifically. Looking at the minutes, now go back to this is why I put him up because, we got to look at this guy's been playing I know he's playing at Southampton and Southampton is not
2,200 minutes already.
But he's already played over 2,000 and
that's a lot.
It's a lot of minutes. He's also got
a lot of minutes because he's at Southampton.
But my
Southampton have the best fullbacks in the league right now.
If you look where they are in the league, they can't. I mean,
they're doing pretty well. I mean, to be fair to them.
But if we're looking at positions, that if you're looking at what we get out of our fullbacks, wing backs, we haven't got so much as what they have in terms of consistency, player playing in that position, age profile. I think we made a mistake selling Kyle Walker-Peters, in my opinion, because he was young at the time. I don't know how the deal went, but I think he was part of that deal because we needed to get Højbjerg more than we needed a fullback at that particular time. Now that we're playing a different system, the guy's a better wing back, in my opinion, than he's a fullback, although he's developed more defensively as he has. But time will do that, particularly because of his age. Yeah, go on.
The mistake we made was letting Trippier go. We made the right decision getting rid of Kyle Walker-Peters.
We're just
I'm not sure.
We're going to be split all evening by the looks of it.
We are going to be split all evening. Trippier, we'll come on to Trippier. But going on, looking at Trippier, we'll come back. Kyle Walker-Peters, in terms of the argument, I think he has all the attributes in terms of the player profile that Conte is looking for. Again, if we're looking at players are better than that, obviously there's always going to be better players. That's not the argument. The players, if he was available to bring back because we've sold him, would I bring him back over those other two in the position that we require? 100%. Because he's better than Doherty now. He's better than Emerson now. Yeah, and I think he can play left side as well because he's done for Southampton. And he's 24 years of age, and there's resale value, and he's got numbers behind him.
But if you're putting it that way, are you going to bring him back over them two? Then it's a no-brainer. Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
That's why he put it that way, though. That's why he put it that way.
The same argument as Eriksen. Would you bring out? You guys said you'd bring Eriksen back because you thought he'd fit into the system now, and he'd be a number one starter. I disagreed, but I believe if you brought him back and you played him enough, he'd be a number one starter, in my opinion. I think he was definitely.
What is the point in replacing two players, one that is pony and one that's distinctly average, with someone that is just he's an okay?
Because we need two right away. We need two competent ones right away. Like 100%. we need right wing backs right away. And Kyle Walker-Peters, even if he isn't a starter, could be easily somebody that would be very useful to us, more useful than Christian Eriksen or Gareth Bale.
He's not going to come to Spurs. He's not going to come to Spurs as a non-starter. If he's going to come, if he's going to go somewhere,
you've been realizing we've been playing without a right wing back this whole season. Imagine if we actually had a right wing back. Imagine if we had a right wing back that gave us 2 goals and 4 assists so far this season. Do you know where we would be? Ahead of the scum. That's where we would be, ahead of the scum with that. We'd be 3 points ahead of Arsenal if we had a right wing back. If we had Kyle Walker-Peters right now, we'd be ahead of Arsenal.
I think in the system that we play, wing backs are, as we've seen, are essential to the.
Listen to what we're saying right now on this panel, right?
We're not saying he's world class. We're saying the system that we have, he would give us more than what those two would give us.
But you're talking about a player that's played in Conte's system over someone that is Kyle Walker-Peters, who is distinctly just an average. Okay, maybe I'm doing him a slight disservice. He's an okay wing back stroke fullback. He's not anything better than that. Yet we're saying that we'd rather have someone of that ability, that type of player, over someone like Eriksen or Gareth Bale.
It's why Bayern Munich don't sign Paul Pogba. No, it's the same. It's why Bayern Munich don't sign Paul Pogba. Yes, he's maybe the best footballer that you could look at, but he doesn't fit the system and he doesn't fit what they're trying to do. So it's the same thing with Christian Eriksen and Bale. Yes, they're unbelievable players technically. Yes, they're probably the best strikers of the football, perhaps, in their position, but that's not what Conte is looking for in his system.
Eriksen fits that system.
How does Eriksen fit? Going back to Eriksen,
you're really overhyping how much.
I don't see how Eriksen fits.
He's played the formation. He's played the system. He knows the tactics of Conte. Like I can't put it any simpler than that. Like You could take Eriksen now, and you could easily fit him into that Spurs pivot, and he would hit the ground running.
Not the pivot.
What he would. Whereas Kyle Walker-Peters, mate, come on. I mean,
So what you're saying is, if I've got it rightly, you're saying if Eriksen was in our team now over one of Bentancur or Højbjerg, or one of them two, we'd have more success as a team than if Kyle Walker-Peters was in place of Emerson or
Of course, because we haven't got a playmaker in that Spurs side.
But we're not playing that way. This is the point. The way we're playing,
we would, because you'd have that deep line playmaker. You'd have
right.
that.
So we'd have to change the way we're playing. Eriksen, Eriksen and Kane would have to change how they play. One of them two would have to. Okay.
Who would have to change?
One of them, right? At the moment, Kane is playing in a role where he's doing that job, right? The playmaker job. What you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying, Eriksen would do that job. So we change our way of playing. It's a different way we're playing then. We play differently with Eriksen in the team. 100%, you'd have to.
But Kane would be doing.
Would you say that point? That's that. The first point is: would we play differently with Eriksen in the team?
You would, but you'd play only from the perspective of Harry Kane, because Harry Kane would then be required to actually do what he is required to do. Be the number 9. Don't be that playmaker when there's someone better than that doing it.
Who then does our cleaning up job? Who does our defensive duties of those players?
Bentancur and Eriksen could easily do that between the two of them. You can't tell me Højbjerg is. I mean, you look at Højbjerg. He a lot of the time that you're seeing him at the moment, although he's playing well, he's just sat in front of that back line.
So that's what he's being told to do.
Exactly.
Because our defence, as we know, is where our problems have occurred. We've been terrible in defence. So protecting our defence is what he does. So what I'm saying, you're putting Eriksen in that team now, and we're going to have to come off him. I don't believe we're going to do better with Eriksen in the team than we would do with Kyle Walker-Peters in the replacement, particularly of how we play. We need our wing backs. We don't have a system if we don't have wing backs that can deliver for us. Really,
we've been playing without wing backs.
But what are we always complaining that Højbjerg does? He just goes backwards. He goes sideways. He goes backwards. He goes sideways.
I mean, personally, I haven't been complaining.
And he just sits. He just sits in front of that back line. Eriksen could easily do that for Spurs with what Højbjerg's been doing.
Yes, I'm going to do that.
I don't complain about Højbjerg, to be frank, Mike. I never complain.
Could do that role, and he'd do something better. He'd actually have better distribution. Our distribution would be 10 times better than what it is right now.
And we'd have shots from outside the box.
And we'd have decent free kicks. Set piece that, don't worry about Harry
and
Kane.
Corners.
Have a day off. We've got Eriksen here.
Kyle Walker-Peters, Jack, yes or no?
Yes. Because then you could replace both right wing backs.
Mike?
No chance.
It's a yes for me. I'm having Kyle Walker-Peters all day long.
This is great. Split right down the middle.
I'd rather have Trippier over Kyle Walker-Peters.
Okay. We're on to him. Kieran Trippier. Okay, age 31. Another player been kind of linked to Spurs. Done his thing at Atletico. Is now at Newcastle. Plays right back. Currently, he's made 23 appearances. That's including his time at Atletico. 1,606 minutes, 2 goals, no assists. Yeah. Mike, start us off. Kieran Trippier.
100% I'd take Trippier over Kyle Walker-Peters. One, Trippier's delivery is better than Kyle Walker-Peters. His set pieces are better than Kyle Walker-Peters. That's enough for me. And he can defend. He can head a ball. He can do everything that you'd expect from a fullback, and he'd do it better than Kyle Walker-Peters all day long. It's not even up for debate. I'll close this one off.
So, because he can...
I'm keeping it short. Kyle Walker-Peters... Kieran Trippier...
What did KWP do to you, my man? What did he ever do to you? You got a real agenda against the guy. Really.
The distribution from Kieran Trippier, balls into the box. He's what else did I say? I forgot what I said now. His balls into the box. His set pieces. Straight away, just on those two, which we don't have at the moment, would work wonders for us. He could go up. He goes up and down. He's got the energy. He can do. He's got the fitness to do what's required from a wing back in Conte's system. And our attacking outlet it'd be far better than bloody Kyle Walker-Peters. Come on.
So again, fitting into the system. I haven't seen much of Newcastle. I didn't see much of Atletico, but I don't think Atletico.
He's a winner. He's actually come from a team. He's actually won a league title. What's Kyle Walker-Peters won in his life?
Yeah, but Mike, everyone.
What experience can we get from Kyle Walker-Peters? Kyle Walker-Peters, mate. Yeah, you pay for Southampton. You're 7th choice England wing back, but yeah, we'll take you instead of Trippier, who's won the Liga.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Kieran Trippier at 31. Is Kieran Trippier at 31 a better wing back than Kyle Walker-Peters? Sid, have you had a say on this particular player?
Kieran Trippier, for me, unfortunately, Mike, I have to disagree with you. His crossing ability is okay. It's not
okay.
Yeah,
come on, mate.
Listen,
his distribution's
it's okay.
His distribution's better than Kyle Walker's.
It's better than Kyle Walker's, but
it's better than Kyle Walker.
Try to go 2 minutes without saying Kyle Walker-Peters.
No. I said Kyle Walker. I said Kyle Walker, not Kyle Walker-Peters.
Okay, yeah.
His distribution's better than any right wing back that we've got or have.
Defensive
This season, okay, going back to the numbers, because we can't go back more than last season. That's what I've tried to do, because we can go back. If we went back seasons past, we could say every player is going to be great. But last season, this current season I'm talking about, he's got 2 goals but no assists.
2 goals. How many's Kyle Walker-Peters got?
But you're saying he's got putting all these crosses in. So if he's putting all these crosses in, where's his assist coming from? Or is he not crossing that well? Or they're not heading?
If he's pinging balls into Harry Kane's going to get onto the end of them.
So who's Kyle Walker-Peters then assisting to? That's all. I'm just giving. I'm playing devil's advocate again. I'm playing devil's advocate.
He's pinging balls into Callum Wilson, who's always on the bloody treatment table for Newcastle. So those balls he's putting back into the treatment room at the moment. But how many goals does Kyle Walker-Peters?
He's only played how many games at Newcastle? All I'm looking at is his stats. He's 31 years of age. He's made 23 appearances this season. He's played 1,606 minutes. So his minutes, he's not playing 90 minutes every game. Currently, that's what it shows. He's also, injury prone, potentially. Like I said, I don't know he's long, but he has been injured quite consistently. But his numbers, tell me about his numbers. He ain't got no assists this season.
Look at the quality of strikers. If he was putting balls into the box with better quality strikers, the balance of probability, those strikers will do far better than what Newcastle have got. Who've Newcastle got? Just remind me. Callum Wilson, Chris Woods.
Yeah.
Okay,
2 players that you'd think would be decent in the air. Who have Southampton got? Is what I'm playing is devil's advocate, because we're selling some players but not selling others based on what we need. Now, what we need is not a Kieran Trippier, in my opinion, because Kieran Trippier, again, I can't see that athleticism for him getting back and forth as a wing back. I don't see that. He never was that athletic anyway. He's 31 now. 31. Next season, when we get him, he'll be 32. His minutes to how many games he's played doesn't suggest that he's a player that's currently going to be 90 minutes each game. That's not what it says here to me. And he doesn't have the numbers. Kyle Walker-Peters has got as many goals as him this season. Bearing in mind, he played for Atletico to Kieran Trippier, and he ain't got no assists. So I want to know what he does. Because if you're bringing him back in, he's got to do something. I'm not bringing him back in to take free kicks. That's why I'm not on this James Ward-Prowse bollocks. Bringing James Ward-Prowse in to take free kicks is bollocks. Is he good enough to play in a 2-man midfield? I don't believe so for Spurs. Is he good enough to take free kicks and corners? Of course he is.
Yeah,
we're looking at is players doing what they need to do. Kieran Trippier with 2 goals and no assists, having played 1,606 minutes 23 times, and also playing.
So he's played less.
Is not good enough.
He's played less games than Kyle Walker-Peters, and has the same amount of goals as him.
But the argument about was that
not the same amount of goal contributions. He doesn't have 4 assists.
100%. But the thing was, we saying that.
Charlie Armstrong and Armando Broja versus Callum Wilson and Chris Wood is not too much of a difference when you think about it.
So my point was about the same thing. If we're saying that Kieran Trippier's got no one to cross the ball to, or no one, because they're all on, well, he's got Chris Woods.
He has better
aerial
ones,
players.
actually.
That's
He's
what that's why they brought Kieran Trippier in, to cross the balls to Chris Woods and players like that who've got the aerial ability. So again, in our system, does Kyle Walker-Peters become a better player than Kieran Trippier? Is the point in our system?
Yes.
Sid?
Does
Kieran
what?
Trippier,
Sorry.
yes or no?
No.
Mike?
No.
Kieran Trippier, yes or sorry?
He's a better player than Kyle Walker. All day. I'd have him.
I would say. I would
I
say
only
noted.
had him for a season, and it might not even the output. I just feel the output would be better quality than what Kyle Walker-Peters is going to.
The only reason I'm saying no, Shane, is because I'm a bit worried that Mike is trying to assemble some sort of retirement community of, former Spurs players. They're all above 30. It's tax season over here in the US. So I'm kind of thinking about the social security and whatnot of the, some of these players that he's bringing in. No sell on value. I'm just, for Daniel Levy's sake, even, this isn't
you're not
good on the budget. I would say he's trying to assemble like a glory years retirement, community. It seems like of these players.
I just
get me somebody under 25.
I think he's past his time. I think he was a good player, but at 31, going into 32, to bring him back next season, I wouldn't bring him back.
He's
I'm not
signing
talking about
everybody
now.
above 31.
I'm not talking about 18 months ago. I'm talking about now. Right, but I'm saying at 31 years of old to play wing back in our system requires athletes. I don't see Kieran Trippier ever in his whole career being an athlete. And I don't see him playing in a wing-back system that needs and demands all the athleticism that we know it requires.
Did he not do that?
And he's not got nothing, and he can't muster up more than 2,000 minutes and making 23 appearances. That's my point. So I'm not looking at his glory years. But this is what I'm saying. I'm not going back to that. If you go back to him 3 or 4 years ago, 100%. I'm talking about him coming to us next season at 31 over somebody who's 24. And his numbers don't stack up. And his numbers aren't going to get better, in my opinion.
But Kyle Walker-Peters is never going to become anything other than what he is now.
You broke the 2-minute rule, Mike. You broke the 2-minute rule.
Average. Why are we bringing average player? Gareth Bale wouldn't cost any money to sign. He's going to be a freebie. Eriksen isn't going to cost any money because he's only on a 6-month contract with Brentford. So he'll be a freebie. So we're not actually outlaying any money. There's no money that we're spending here in terms of transfer fees.
Well, you do end up paying it because you pay it in wages, because that's the difference, is that a free transfer is not really free because you end up paying it all, end up in wages. That's what and also agent fees and performance fees and things like that you normally wouldn't pay with a regular transfer.
It still work out cheaper than bringing in Kyle Walker-Peters.
Not always.
Even if you did it on the basis of just one season.
Not always.
2 seasons.
Depends on the signing on fees and everything, like what Jack's saying. It depends on it.
Not
because
always.
They'll command a big signing on fee. If you're getting them for nothing, there's no way they're going to come for nothing. They're going to be a massive signing on fee, and then on top of that, you're going to have the wages and
agent fees
and everything else. So an agent's not going to give away a player for nothing without making bucks on it. So yeah, but just going back to Trippier.
Let's see if we could do another player that's a bit more easier. I hope this one might be a little bit easier. Let's see whether or not. So we said this definitely splits the camp on this one. Juan Foyth, age 24. Villarreal currently right back again. 27 appearances, 2,213 minutes played. No goals, no assists. Having played in Champions League, etc., etc. Mike, do you want to start us off with this one?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and simple. No. I'll keep it short and simple. No. What is Foyth? Foyth doesn't.
This is so good.
We just don't need Foyth. He's not a player. What's he going to do to improve? He's not going to improve us. We've seen him at Spurs where we got rid of him for a reason. Why would we bring that player back? There's plenty of other players that are, in my eyes, better than Foyth. Even ex-Spurs players that are better than Foyth. And you wouldn't play him. You wouldn't play him in the Conte system. Where are you going to put him? Right wing back. It's not going to happen. And you're not going to play him in that back three. I just don't think he's big enough. He's not. He'd take Romero's place if you was going to play him in the back three. That's the position that he'd play. Well, I'm not saying he's better than Romero, but that's the position that he would naturally slot into. But Yeah, no, I wouldn't take him.
Sid, is Foyth 24 Villarreal played? Did he win the Europa with them? I think
Champion.
he did.
Villarreal champion.
Champion.
Europa League champion.
Europa.
What's your thoughts?
Again, we sold him for a reason. But I don't think he got enough recognition, enough time at Spurs. I think he was injured quite a lot as well. I'm to be fair, I don't care who it is. I'm not for having a player come back to Spurs once you've got rid of him. If you've got rid of him, get rid of him. See you later. Move on to new pastures. Bring in new players. Somebody, because you bring him back, you spend 15, 20 million on him, and first couple of months he's not playing well. Fans are going to get on his case. It's going to be a matter of why did you bring him back? Blah 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 blah. People like Mike will come back on saying, "Well, I told you he was shit from the beginning. Why did you bring him back?" You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So
I'll just say, told you so.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I don't think if we're going to bring him back, I don't think he'd work as a right back. Maybe as a centre back, maybe replace Sanchez, Davis. That might work alongside Romero, Dyer, or if we go and get somebody else as well. But as a right wing back, I don't think so, because I've seen him a few times at Villarreal and he's done okay, but he's not convinced me to say, "Oh, why did we get rid of him?" kind of player. And cut a long story short, to be fair, as a right wing back, I won't take him back as a right wing back. Maybe as a replacement for Sanchez or somebody else, but once you've gone, mate, you've gone. There's, don't bring a player back because he's young. You could ruin him a second time round, and nah, not for me. And the most important is, would he fit Conte's system as well? I don't think it would.
So again, the two players we looked at before in terms of they're both classed as right backs, although they obviously can play full back. So I'm going to assume the same thing for Juan Foyth. He's classed as a right back, but I'm assuming he can play wing back. I'm assuming there's also, because he did play for Spurs, as a centre back. Would he come and do something for us now? Would I put him in the first 11? No. Would he take Romero's place? Definitely not. Is he a better wing back than what we've currently got? No. His numbers don't stack up. His numbers never have stacked up. I think he's a player that plays better in that type of league, i.e. Spain, where it's a little bit, calmer, a little bit maybe lower pace, not so, athletic. I don't think he's a player that would fit back in the system because of that. He's young. He's like a Brian Hill for me, exactly like a Brian Hill, a player that's got all that sort of talent, but maybe doesn't quite fit in the Premier League because of his physicalities. Is he better than what we've got? No. Is he better than Sanchez? Is he better than Yaphet Tanganga as a centre back? You could probably do a toss up. So for that reason, I wouldn't bring him back to Spurs because his numbers don't appeal to me. He's had a bit of experience, but I don't think he's a Premier League player. Jack, what's your thoughts?
As a right wing back, no, I don't think you would get him as a right wing back. I think you would be getting him as a right-sided center back, maybe / somebody who can play in the middle of a back three, potentially, because he does have a good pass on him for a guy that can play as a center back. So in that case, if I were to bill him as a right-sided center back, if I were to put on the Sid agent cap, become his player agent, I would sell him as a right-sided center back to Spurs / a backup center back to maybe Eric Dyer. I don't know, like regardless of transfer fee and everything, like just knock that out of the door. I think I would actually take him back because he'd be a better alternative. He'd be a better option. Just let me finish. He'd be a better option as a backup than Sanchez would and Tanganga would and Joe Rodon would. So he's better than 3 of our center backs coming in, filling in the back 3. He also has experience playing in a back 3 and would be able to actually make that adjustment better than Tanganga, Sanchez, and Joe Rodon have.
Do you think, just adding on to that then, do you think that he could play in the Premier League? Because that's my point. I don't think he would be a week in, week
out starter. I don't think he'd be a week in, week out starter, but he'd be a better squad player than our other squad players.
And for me, for that reason, I think Sanchez has probably got more physicality to be able to do that. I don't think he's a better footballer. And I also put Yaphet Tanganga in that same boat. Both of them are both physical. Yeah. And if you're looking for physicality in your centre-back position, he's going to have to be over them two. I saw Juan Foyth, if he get bullied off the ball.
I was going to say, imagine Foyth against someone like Chris Woods.
I just don't think he's a Premier League player. I just don't think
I agree. I just think in terms of what we want from our back 3, he actually would match more of what Conte's asking. And I think Tanganga and Sanchez have. And as well as Joe Rodon. I don't rate Joe Rodon. So that would be.
I'm going to start this one off. Juan Foyth is a no for me. Mike?
Yeah, no.
Sid?
No.
I'm
And Jack?
still a no. I'm a no as well, but I want to make a good case for him because he's not a
I
right wing
agree.
back. He would be a right-sided center back. He'd be a right-sided center back, not a right
I
wing
agree,
back.
Jack.
Right, this one. Serge Aurier, 29. He was
Next.
a free agent for a long while. He's not just, but he's now signed for Villarreal. Currently playing right back, has made 13 appearances, 769 minutes, no goals, 2 assists. He's played a couple times, I think, in the Champions League as well for them, maybe once. But again, he's not a regular starter, has been injured, 29. Sid, Serge Aurier, was you one of the ones who was like singing his Serge Aurier's name when he was at the Lane?
Me? Don't be silly. Do you know what? Honestly, I'm not going to lie. On his day, yeah, when he had his day and he performed, he was on par. But when he was not playing and you needed to see the game out and the ball went into a penalty area, you knew he was covering your eyes because you knew a penalty was going that way. But I'm surprised you've even put him on the list because I tell you why. We've already got the Chuckle Brothers, right, in Emerson and Sanchez. Now you want the Three Musketeers by adding him into it. Are you mad? Absolute crazy,
let
man.
Me try and let me try and at least sell Serge Aurier here.
No.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I was one of the people that Serge Aurier had to go. He was mistakes. He looked like he'd lost the love for playing for Spurs. He looked like he wanted to go for a long time. Blah 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 blah. However, when we had Nuno, it was never going to work. Conte's system. I look at Serge Aurier's profile and I think to myself, Jesus Christ, we could do with a Serge Aurier now. Experience-wise, international, has played obviously at Ivory Coast, obviously knows the Premier League. I think he's got that physicality. We can see he just needs to maybe be tempered a little bit. Experience, 29. He's just the right side of 30, obviously. The only thing is I don't know whether or not his attitude is going to be right for someone to bring him back. You know, he's a player that wanted to go. You're kind of bringing him back. Unless he actually really wanted to come back, I think he'd only be coming back for money. I don't know. It don't feel like if I had a choice between him and Kyle Walker-Peters, I'm going Kyle Walker-Peters all day. Is he currently a better wing back than what we've got? Yes, but that would come with a bit of a price. And I don't know what that price would be in terms of what he would give away, what he wouldn't do. Is he hit or miss? Is he just consistent? I don't know. He's one of them players. I'd have him. I don't know what I'm going to get at the end of the day.
And he got sent off again tonight for against England. So
that's the point. You just don't know what you're going to get with the geezer.
No.
And I'm trying to sing his praises. Nah, I'm sorry. He's not. He's a no from me. Jack,
no.
What have you said a bit about Serge Aurier?
No, just just no, for no reason. Every reason, no. I think it's a stretch to say he would do well in this system. Because would he really do the tracking back that we would want him to? I mean, the guy switches off, like a light switch. And then as well, like, I think, to be fair, I love Sean in the comments, but Serge Aurier, the man outside of football, has also sometimes not been the greatest guy either. He's gotten into some, weird occasions. He's had some weird things happen outside of the dressing room to him as well. Not even, he's just been accused of certain things that I would say I would not maybe want around this football club either. He's
a strange one. Mike, Serge Aurier, taking him back?
The reason I wouldn't take him back is just because of his attitude. Well, it comes across his attitude. We're assuming he has got a bad attitude. We don't really know, but it comes across like his attitude isn't probably on par with the rest of the squad. I actually think he probably would suit this kind of system. I think we'd get more out of him from an attacking sense than what we've got now.
That Man United goal does come to mind. That great finish that he had, far post.
Yeah, and he has had some good games, like against Man City and stuff, Liverpool. I wouldn't take him though, just because, like what everyone said, he's just too hit and miss. You just don't know what you're going to get out of him. Although I think he is a decent footballer. I just don't think he's had quite a lot go on outside of football, like his brother's passing and his brother got killed, didn't he, and stuff like that. So you don't know how that could have a big effect on him mentally, and that that might be part of the reason why he probably didn't have his head on the game as such.
That's a very good point you make about that, because we don't take those things into consideration enough. That's a massive traumatic event for any person.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think he played that same day or the next day
He did,
after
yeah.
his
He
brother,
did.
didn't he?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause-
Again, you got to put yourself in that situation. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts.
but
It's-
he wanted to play, didn't he? He said,
Yeah.
"I don't want to
Yeah,
go.
he
I
did.
want to play, and then I'll go." And he went after the game. But you know what? You've got to give fair play to him, respect him, and everything. You know.
Yeah.
You
Thing
didn't
is,
wanna
when
let
he's
Yeah,
when he's on
go
his game, he is good. He's very good when he's on
Yeah.
it. He is top notch, but
Yeah.
he's just not consistent.
This
And
is it.
he can have that even in the game where he's playing very well. He could just have that moment of lack of concentration. He gives away a penalty or something, and
Mm.
It is that
we
moment
just
of
don't-
madness.
We just don't need that. Again, he's another player that he wanted to go. We probably wanted to get rid of him ourselves. Why would we bring him
We
back?
actually let him go. We cut
no
his
sense.
deal. He hadn't even
Yeah.
finished his contract. We cut him. So that's how much the club wanted him out. So again, when you've done things like that, to bring someone like that back after all of that, it's really tough. Because like I said, they
He can play
literally...
a decent cross as well, can't he? Like we've seen
He's,
it. But
looking at what he's got, I think he'd cause so many more problems than what Doherty and Emerson
I agree.
caused. And if he was telling me I'd replace Kyle Walker's and Serge Aurier with Doherty and Emerson, 100%, I'd take them two now. Are they better players? Of course, I'm not saying there's not better players than that, but I'm just saying if we had the option about replacing what we've got now with these two players, if we have nothing else, then yeah, no brainer. But Serge Aurier, I just yeah. Okay, quick one then. Serge for me is a no. Mike,
yeah, no.
Sid, no. Jack,
Nope.
look at that. We can agree. We can agree. The last player now. This one should be fun as well.
Can't wait to see that Southampton game with Mike soon.
This is good. These shows are great when we have these barneys. I love them. It's proper. It's proper. Anyway, last player, Carlos Vinicius. Right, age 27, currently on loan at Benfica from PSV Eindhoven. He's a forward striker, if you want to call him that. Played or appeared 33 times, including in Europe, 1,359 minutes. So he's been used as a sub and not played full 90s all the time. 7 goals, 6 assists. So in terms of goal contributions this season, the guy's got 13 goal contributions in terms of goals and assists. He was at Spurs. We didn't really want to pay the money for him. We have never signed a striker since Harry Kane become good. So therefore, what do we think about Carlos Vinicius? Let's start off with you, Jack. Would you bring him back? Is he a player that we would have now if he was offered the choice? Carlos Vinicius.
I mean, let's just break this down nice and simply. Benfica replaced him with 3 different strikers. That's how much they rated him. They brought in Yaremchuk, the Ukrainian international from Club Genk, I believe it was, in Belgium. They brought in that guy Darwin Nunez, that Uruguayan guy that everybody wants. They also had, the guy that I think we've all never rated, but has had better seasons than Carlos ever had in Liga NOS. That guy Haris Seferovic, that Swiss international, I believe he is. He's had better seasons than Carlos ever has. So if there are 3 players at Benfica that I would sooner take than Carlos Vinicius, then I think it's a big fat no. For me.
Even if he's got 13 goal contributions in 33 appearances,
there are 3 other players on PSV that I know have bigger goal contributions than him. Even there are 3 other players at PSV I would take sooner than I would take.
Is one of them one of our ex players?
I would take Noni Madueke. I would take Cody Gakpo, and then I would take probably one of their CDMs or one of their wingers as well that I'm forgetting the name of. But also just look at the fact that Benfica replaced him. They didn't even rate him. They didn't even want him. And also Benfica are having a better season this season than they've had in years, as well, without him, which isn't probably a coincidence either. So.
Spursy 141. Judge Jodi's not happy with that one. She's bringing back Vinicius, but she's saying boo to Jack.
Tough one.
Sid,
pains me because I feel like when we had Vinicius, I felt like I was Vinicius's biggest fan. I was kind of like he's a pretty good looking guy. I think I liked his story with Lucas. I liked Vinicius And then all of a sudden, once he left, it felt like there were all these Vinicius fans that came out all of a sudden that I didn't hear in the past. And, and then all of a sudden people rated him. It was weird. It was weird.
Are you having Carlos Vinicius back at Spurs if he was available?
Do you know what, right? We haven't got a backup striker. We've been crying out for a backup striker, right? And if we're not going to sell Kane in the summer and we're not going to get anyone, then Vinicius is a good shout purely because he can cup games if we need him. He can come on as a sub because there's games where we've been saying, oh, he needs to take Kane off, he needs to take Son off, if not having a good game or whatever. But if you've got somebody like that on the bench that maybe not going to start every game, apart from cup games, but he comes on for the last 10, 15 minutes, you never know. Yeah. And if we're going to keep Kane, then as a backup striker, I'd take him just on the backup striker basis because it's an option to have. If we're 10 minutes left of a game and we're struggling and whatever, we can change it up. Because our bench at the moment is non-existent anyway. So if we've got an actual proven goal scorer on the bench that we know that we can rely on, we've got one in Scarlett, but he's too young yet at the moment, and he thinks he's got to embed him slowly but surely. But if he's available for a decent price,
what would a decent price be?
Well, this you know what? I'd say
anything
10,
more than $9.99 for me, and it's too much.
10, 15 million, I think it'd be decent enough for me for a strike as a backup striker.
What's a Tesco meal deal go for these days?
It's gone up. It's gone up now. It used to be £3 something, didn't it? It's gone up now. But,
with inflation, so you got to take in Carlos Vinicius inflation even on
but
that.
The thing is, I'm not sure. If we're not going to replace Kane, then I think we need a backup striker, and we're not going to go and spend 40, 50, 60 million and no players like what you said, Nunez or anybody like that is coming to Spurs to sit on the bench to keep it warm. Whereas I think Vinicius might come and just think, you know what, if I get cup games, if I get this, that, the other, it's an option.
Just not a journeyman. I just don't want a journeyman in my club. I just don't.
I'm going to come to Mike. Mike, what's your thoughts on Carlos Vinicius? 27. He's not obviously an old player, but he's not a youth.
I'm undecided on him. I don't think he got a fair crack under Mourinho.
I agree. I don't think he got. I don't think he got a fair crack either.
I don't think we can judge him on his sort of past Spurs record. My thing here would be, I've said that I'd take Bale as a replacement striker to Kane, who we could get on a freebie. I'd take Bale over Vinicius all day long.
That's a good way to break it down.
Why would I take Vinicius? He's quick, and I know he likes to play off the last defender. And his hold-up play, he seems to be all right at Spurs.
Yeah.
But again, like what Jack says, this previous club has got rid of him. Don't want him. Nah, I'm not taking him.
Just means you would take 2,000 other backup number 9s before you would take him, is what it is.
If I'm going to take him, I'm going to have to take Kyle Walker-Peters, aren't I? So,
Good man. There we go.
He got it in there. He knew he was going to get it back in there somehow. He weren't having it. Sorry.
So,
good man, Mike. I couldn't have agreed more on the last guy with you. Could not.
So I honestly would take Bale instead as a backup striker. If we were struggling to find a striker, I would take Bale in. And I know he'd score me goals. He would score goals.
Would you take Bale
across any of the front three as well? So why wouldn't I?
Would you take Bale on 300 grand a week then over Vinicius
I don't
at the
think.
end of the season?
Yeah.
I'm just saying if Bale came available and he said I want 300 grand a week, and then Vinicius became available and he wants 65 grand a week, or whatever.
More worth
Are you taking Bale?
Yeah, he'd give you more bang for your buck, I would say still.
Yeah,
okay.
And I'm going to agree. If you go back to the original argument of the Bale,
Vinicius is not winning us a 4th round FA Cup.
That's what I'm saying. There's more star quality in Bale to do that on an irregular basis, not on a regular basis, which is what Carlos Vinicius we brought into the club for. We all know with all the other players we kind of discussed, we kind of looked at whether or not they'd make the first 11. He's not making the first 11 in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter what you do. You can look at all them front 3 players.
He's not even winning us the game against Borough. He's not that sort of player either. So That's the other thing. Like the games he'll play next season are actually more important than the games he would have played this season. And I would still argue he would have failed in a lot of the games that he would have played this season. Some of those Conference League games, I would say you would not have offered very much. You know, even a lot of these cup games, you would not have offered any much. And when we think about it next season, the games are going to be even higher stakes where you need more quality backup. I get the argument that like no striker wants to play under Harry Kane, but there are better strikers than Carlos Vinicius that would play under Harry Kane.
This is why I'd go for a forward over someone directly trying to replace Harry Kane. I'd go for Gareth Bale for that reason. And the reason being that the wages wouldn't so much. If you compare Gareth Bale's wages and Carlos Vinicius, obviously they're going to be chalk and cheese. But if you then think to yourself, who could you make more money back off in terms of branding, in terms of, you know, commercial? Gareth Bale, 100%. So you probably balance that up. Who's going to be popping up in the big games? It's going to be Gareth Bale over Vinicius. It's only on these two which I'm doing this comparison to, because I'd bring Gareth Bale in if he was going to play, you know, 5, 10, 15 games, which is probably what Carlos would probably end up playing for Spurs, because he ain't going to get much more game time than that unless we have a long-term injury.
So right now, what we have is an admission that you would take Gareth Bale back to Spurs.
Oh, no. Hold on.
Yes,
you both just said it. So right now, this panel is
when we were doing it before,
Bale,
we were doing the comparisons, and you wouldn't. I said if we given me a choice between Carlos Vinicius and Gareth Bale, and I made it up. If you said to me, do I want Gareth Bale back? No, that's my answer. But if you give me the two, I'll take Gareth Bale over Carlos Vinicius 100% every single day, including Sundays. That's what I think, because he's not that good. I don't think Vinicius is that good if you're going to play him. Like I said, if he was a regular starter, both him and Gareth Bale wouldn't start all the time. And Carlos, over a period of time, is probably going to be less injured than Gareth Bale will be. But if you're going to play him 15 games a season, I think Gareth Bale will probably score more goals and probably have more contributions. So Carlos Vinicius then, no from me. Mike?
Nope.
Sid? Jack? It's
Never.
a no. Let's just have a quick run down to those players again. So we did a great argument. It was great. Started off with Gareth Bale. We went round the houses with Christian Eriksen. That was a good one. Kyle Walker-Peters then ended up having a bit more of a discussion. And then we fully jumped in on top of Kieran Trippier when all hell was breaking loose. And then we calmed down a bit.
There's one player that we haven't mentioned on there. What about Jan Vertonghen?
Nah, you see, right. I thought about putting Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld, both of them players in. But I look where Toby Alderweireld's playing. Yeah. He's playing out in Saudi or Qatar, something like that. He's done. He's retiring. He's already said he's retiring, pretty much. Jan Vertonghen's an interesting one, though.
I'd have him.
Yeah,
he's still playing well. He's still playing well. And he's left-sided. And all day long over Ben Davies. Fuck off, Ben.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, you've got a choice, Vertonghen or Ben Davies. I can't imagine there's any Spurs fan out there that would be like, yeah, I'd have Davies over Vertonghen right now.
If you say
hour and a half in, and Sean is just saying every word for word that I agree with. All of a sudden, you know, an hour and a half in, and then every single, sorry, not Sean. Mike is now saying every single word I agree with. All of a sudden, it's come full circle. Mike and I have come full circle
half, though, isn't it?
You know, there's the little sandwich in the middle. You know, we kind of parted ways, but then, you know, back at the end, you know, we've come together. And
could you imagine a back three of Romero, Dyer, and Vertonghen? All of a sudden, that's not a bad back three. And I'm like.
But the thing is, with Vertonghen, you definitely are not going to buy him as a left wing back. That's 100%. So left-sided centre back, 100%. I agree with you on that one, Mike. Toby, I think Toby's done.
He could play in the centre, or he could play on the left centre back. You could probably the argument could be like you'd probably be that we should take Vertonghen over Dyer, and will you possibly?
Dyer. No, I'm not gonna.
But we're not gonna go. I'm not gonna go.
No, we're not. That's gonna be too much for this show. Too much. Yeah. We can't. We'll be here all day. What have we got coming up then? Anyway, make sure before we get off this stream, anyway, everybody keep on subscribing if you haven't already subscribed. Keep on subscribing if you have. It's not keep on. Keep on liking if you haven't liked the stream already. Press that like button now. Subscribe to the channel as well. Share the content. We've got coming up on Saturday preview. It's back. Premier League is back. We're playing Newcastle at home on Sunday, 4:30 kickoff. So we're doing the reaction show just after 6:30 on Sunday. Sid, have we got that coming up, Sid? Do you want to say anything about that? Is there anything you need to say?
Yeah. If anyone's got any questions after tonight's show, especially when Mike's been saying about KWP and that, and you want it discussing on Ask Sid, then yeah, come
It's
and
been
join us on
lively.
Everybody
Friday.
has Southampton tickets for him.
Absolutely.
That was the best bit of the stream. It was great.
Do you know what? If it's only down the road, I probably would go and watch them still. But I still wouldn't take him.
So we've got Sid on Friday. Obviously after the game, after the Newcastle game, Judge Jodi, look out for that. Probably next week, Monday. Only 12 likes. Sean is saying that's right. Where's all the likes, people? We need the likes. Smash that like button now. Keep doing that. Keep on. Right, Jack, tell the viewers where they can find you.
Over on the second channel, the Flat Cap Bureau Talk, just did 2 videos recently. One of them was free players, free signings that maybe you might not know that are free signings, or free signings that I titled Might Go Under the Radar. I know we were talking about Eriksen, Bale. Those are the ones we're well aware of, but maybe take a look at some free signings that you might not be aware of. And then just recently just published a video about unknown players that are having really good seasons. So guys that are like 33 years old over in Serie A that are producing more goals than Vlahovic, and, you know, guys over in Liga that are producing more assists than Messi that you've never heard of. I think that'd be fun as well. Check out those videos. And then also hit the subscribe over here. This is the channel that I do watch. This is the channel that I watch in my free time whenever I'm, you know, off to the grocery store on a big walk or something like that. This is the one that I watch in my free time. Probably why I clashed, with Mike, because I get to, get in here and just cause a bit of, ruckus and everything. I love this channel.
Jack,
so I would say definitely hit that sub, because this is the channel that I even watch myself.
Jack, next time you go shopping in Walmart in the grocery section, make sure you, what do you call it? Stream it to all the TV screens that are there, right, while you're walking around, so everyone can watch it.
We always have lively discussions.
We'll see what the New Yorkers and the Brooklynites have to say about KWP. We'll see what they have to say about it.
We always have lively banter and debate on this channel. We're all friends. That's the problem. Some people fall out about these things. We have, we don't have to agree.
It's been too good. This is too fun.
People are bloody falling out and not talking to this. You know what I mean? If you don't have to agree, but we all support Spurs. We want the best for Spurs, and that's 100% what we want.
If Levy or Conte is watching the stream, and we do after the stream end up signing KWP in the summer, I won't come back on stream. I'll be done.
Viewers, oh man, I've got a magic bottle. Look at that magic bottle, viewers. Do you like that one? Courtesy of Paxton Road, magic bottles. Come and see me about them.
You wouldn't know there's a big KWP sticker on it, but you wouldn't know.
I think that's about it. Time to go. Mike, Sid, and Jack, excellent show. Really, really good. We tried to do some filling the time for when the Premier League comes back, which is coming back this weekend. And I think we did pretty well tonight. I think we did very well. Yeah, come on, you Spurs. That is it, gentlemen. We shall be seeing you Newcastle game. Yeah, that's the one. Newcastle game. So